After signing an agreement last year to work together with Alberta and Saskatchewan to build new pipelines through an economic corridor from Alberta to Ontario, the government of Ontario is here today to unveil a potential route for a new 3,300 kilometer oil pipeline from Hardisty, Alberta to Sarnia, Ontario. Known as the Northern Shield Energy Corridor, this project would pave the way for Alberta's barrier-free access to domestic refineries and markets in eastern Canada. A new east-west pipeline would move an additional 500,000 barrels of Alberta oil per day, with the potential for a future expansion of up to 800,000 barrels per day. Energy security is essential for all countries, as we all know, and this new corridor will include the concept of a strategic petroleum reserve, or SPR, that will store vital Alberta oil reserves in the Sarnia refinery area to ensure key refined products like diesel, jet fuel, and gasoline are uninterrupted. There is also an opportunity to eventually use this corridor to reach the Atlantic Ocean, which would allow Alberta to provide reliable energy to our nation's European allies. This project will make Canada stronger. By connecting Alberta's energy with Canadian refineries and European markets, we can create jobs, grow our economy, and make the most out of the world-class resources that we've been blessed with.
Well, we'll look up both. That's why we're doing the feasibility study. We'll reach out to the private sector, but we won't hesitate to do what the government in Canada and Alberta is doing. So let's take a look at all options, and once we have an answer and we'll have this done by the end of the year, then we'll be able to give you a straighter answer.
So you're open, sorry, Premier, Premier Smith, sorry.
I'll just say the thing to remember about pipelines is they're an excellent investment. That's why we have underwritten pipeline purchases and an equity stake for First Nations, because they are revenue generating projects. And so ultimately who pays for them is the people who use them, the shippers. They pay through tolls. And we've already seen that with the Trans Mountain Pipeline. Yeah, the federal government did front the money, but they're now earning $1.2 billion per year to pay it back. And that's why it's a bit of a different type of infrastructure question than whether you're building public infrastructure, because it is a revenue generating business. And so I'm looking forward. I always hope that we can have private partners come forward on this, because that also allows us to have the market discipline. But I'm grateful that Premier Ford is willing to look at all the options.
Do you have a timeline on when it might actually be built?
I'll have a better idea once we do this feasibility study, but we aren't going to hold back. We're going to go full steam ahead. We have great steel companies in Ontario, and I understand so does Saskatchewan, so does Manitoba. So we're all going to pitch in, but we have to make sure it's Canadian steel.
The agreement that we had with the federal government in partnering on the West Coast pipeline, which is our priority, and I think we're both very keen to get that to market very quickly. We're quite a bit more advanced on that one, since we have a project design. We've got a private proponent who's come forward. We've got the federal government willing to partner with us. We have heard from the federal government that they wanted to link those two. We had the Pathways project linked with that West Coast pipeline, and so we're going to be committed to continuing along that path. And remember, the Pathways project has three parts to it. One part is the carbon capture trunk line, but the other part is best available technology. And whether that's nuclear or geothermal that allows us to decarbonize, that's going to be available to any operator once those types of technologies are mature, and once we've built the interties between us and Saskatchewan. So I would say that there's going to be an opportunity to decarbonize all of our barrels once we start moving down that pathway in the coming years.